On? Yeah. Okay. All right, I'll go ahead and get started. It's 9 o'clock. I will look to my team. We're not used to the in-person, so please bear with us as we get our hybrid going here. I will go ahead and look to my team, the hearing team, to go ahead and please start the webinar and the live stream and let the virtual participants into the room, please. That may include me, so I also need to log in. I don't think you need to. We should have you on screen. It's sometimes easier as I've been told from those who run these more regularly, it's sometimes easier if I can see the Zoom room here. Then I can see hands. I think we'll have you right up here yeah, and we can rearrange mics if needed. We have more. We have a lot more if you would like more. And to those who are online, we're just rearranging the room a little bit as we get started.
Up your volume a little bit.
That's what is my microphone in the room? And thank you for asking. I'm not hearing. Oh, there we go. A little bit more, please. Not that there's a large crowd, but there we go. That's a little bit. All right, I'll go ahead and start with introductions. I see we have some, oh, no, I will not start with introductions. First, if we can please elevate the court reporter.
Good morning, Hearing Officer Kinsey.
Good morning. It sounds like, are you ready for us to go on the record?
I am ready.
Wonderful, thank you. Then I now will start with introductions. Good morning, it's December 9th, 2025. I'm Nicole Kinsey, presiding hearing officer for the Administrative Hearings Office of the State Water Resources Control Board. This is the hearing on the pending petitions for change of water right permits 16478, 16479, 16481, and 16482 of the Department of Water Resources for the proposed Delta Conveyance project. I am conducting this hearing in accordance with the July 31st notice of public hearing and subsequent amendments. The hearing today is being conducted in a hybrid format. So those of us appearing in person are in the Sierra Hearing Room in the headquarters for the California Environmental Protection Agency in Sacramento. And if you are joining us in person today, please be aware of the exits. And if we are to have an emergency this morning, which hopefully we will not, we will follow those exit signs out the door, file out of the room, and go to Cesar Chavez Plaza and await further direction. I think other parties and representatives are joining us by Zoom webinar this morning. The intent today is to hear from our witnesses in person, and then we will break for, I will commit to at least an hour. So those of you who would like to relocate and reorganize, you will have an opportunity to do that. If it happens to coincide with our lunch break, then we'll coordinate that. And then we will be reconvening later today by Zoom webinar only for the remaining witnesses scheduled to be heard today. This hearing is being broadcast live on the AHO YouTube channel. Both the audio and video of this hearing are being recorded, and we will post files of this recording in the FTP folder for this proceeding. The YouTube recording will also be available on the AHO YouTube webpage. Ms. Mullen of the AHO will be handling the screen sharing of exhibits and moving along of any slides or exhibits that come up. She is not in the room today, so she is operating kind of behind the Wizard of Oz screen, but she is here with us virtually. And for those of you who may be cross-examining and want to bring up a particular exhibit, you may address Ms. Mullen directly, as has been our practice. We will take breaks as needed. As I discussed, we'll have at least an hour break to rearrange ourselves for the Zoom portion of our day. My understanding of our schedule is that we will start with Mr. Zuckerman, and then we will hear from Mr. Klein in person, and then we will be turning to our remaining witnesses on Zoom. I had put out a sort of a tentative order of witnesses that we would hear the panel from DTEC, Ms. Berrigan-Perea, Ms. Cynthia Cortez, and Mr. Fern, and then Mr. Gigoni, and if we have time, Dr. Priest. And then tomorrow we would hear from Mr. Hoovel and Mr. Elliott. My intent this morning is if we can defer any procedural issues until we reconvene on Zoom later today. I think it's easier for me to manage the room that way, as long as there isn't anything pressing that we need to address first thing this morning. So that would be my request. I know our usual order is to address things, do our housekeeping first, but I would like to pause on that if possible. We can also address any other procedural issues tomorrow morning when we meet as well. With that, I'm going to take a moment to make sure my technical team isn't telling me that we have problems. We're good. Okay, great. We don't have problems. Then with that, I will look to the virtual room and our in-person room. Is there anything procedural we need to address before we turn to Mr. Zuckerman? Please, Ms. Carroll.
Carol for DWR. I just wanted to mention that Dr. Priest would really appreciate.
Okay. So that would be a
Excuse me.
reordering.
Ms. Carroll, you cut off right at the end.
Let me try that again. I was requesting that Dr. Priest appear at 1 p.m. today.
And then I will look to our representatives from DTEC. Do you have any objection to the reordering of those witnesses? If we can please elevate Ms. Proofer. Good morning, Ms. Proofer.
Good morning, Hearing Officer Kenzie, Stephanie Proofer for the DTEC parties. We're okay with the reordering of the witnesses. Thank you for checking.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Then that sounds fine. We will start with Dr. Priest as close to 1 p.m. as possible. Is she available sooner, or is it starting at 1 or at, that's the as far as you know?
She's available beginning at 1. I think it's important just that she finished today. I think she's not available tomorrow is the critical issue.
Okay. If we finish earlier this morning, so I just want to be clear, if we may, I don't know how long this will take, so we may finish earlier this morning. If we have time, we can turn possibly to some of DTEC's witnesses to get them done to make sure we're on track. But we will make sure to get to Dr. Priest today. Thank you. Then with that, I will turn to Mr. Zuckerman. Welcome. Nice to have you
see
here.
again.
And as I recall during our site visit, or let me say it this way, do you recall during our site visit that I administered the oath to you with respect to your testimony in this proceeding?
Up a little bit.
Yes, apologize for that. I wanted to confirm that you recall when we conducted the site visit and met with you that that I administered the oath to you with respect to your testimony in this proceeding.
Yes, and I've been laboring under that in the interim.
Thank you. Thank you for that confirmation. Then with that, I will turn to Ms. Carroll or Ms. Morris. Do you have questions for Mr. Zuckerman?
I do. Can you hear me okay? I'm just,
No.
no? Okay.
Can if
We-
you-
We turn up it's as loud as it goes. Okay. You may have to, sometimes the microphone really.
I have to get into it. Okay.
Get into it.
I'm not really used to getting this close up into something like this. So let's see. Mr. Zuckerman, how are you this morning?
Good.
Good.
How are you?
I'm okay. It's nice to see you in person again. And my name is Stephanie Morris, and I'm outside counsel for the Department of Water Resources, and I have some questions for you this morning. Mr. Zuckerman, did you submit written testimony regarding potential impacts from the Delta Conveyance project in this hearing?
I'm sorry, did I submit written comments when?
Written testimony in this proceeding?
Did I?
Yes.
Not personally, no.
And what do you mean by not personally?
Well, I'm a consultant to the Central Delta Water Agency, and Central Delta Water Agency undoubtedly has presented some written testimony, but not mine.
Okay. You are, when you made statements on the site visit, were those your statements regarding your interests, or were those in the context of Central Delta Water Agency?
I would say both.
And are you aware of any testimony presented by Central Delta Water Agency that discussed carbon sequestration projects?
From the Central Delta Water Agency, I doubt it.
Okay. Are you aware of anybody on your behalf who submitted written testimony in this proceeding regarding a carbon sequestration project on Ringe Tract?
Yes, me.
But you didn't submit that in writing, did you?
No,
Okay.
I
And
didn't
you,
have the opportunity to submit it in writing.
is Mr. Reese your counsel?
Excuse me?
Is Mr. Reese your counsel?
Yes.
And did he not ask you or tell you of the deadlines for filing a protest and submitting testimony in this proceeding?
No, he did not. I'm not, I'm not here officially representing the Central Delta Water Agency. I just mentioned the fact that I am a consultant to the Central Delta Water Agency.
So you were unaware of the deadlines or the notice for the Delta Conveyance project in which to submit a protest?
That's correct.
And you are being represented in your individual capacity or your business entity capacity by Mr. Reese, or Mr. Reese is here representing you on behalf of the Central Delta Water Agency?
Here on behalf of the Central Delta Water Agency and the South Delta Water Agency, the SDWA parties in this matter. And on behalf of Mr. Zuckerman, individually as a witness in the proceeding.
And Mr. Zuckerman, can you please list your business entities that you spoke on behalf of at the site visit?
Well, think about this for a minute. The landowner on Ringe Tract, which I am representing, is called Ringe Tract Partners, Inc. The entity that is involved more directly in the carbon sequestration project that I spoke of is called Pelican Renewables, LLC. And, excuse me, I am a managing member of Zuco 2 LLC, which is the managing member of Pelican Renewables LLC.
When you said you were a consultant for the Central Delta Water Agency, what kind of consulting services do you provide?
Well, I was co-counsel for the Central Delta Water Agency from its formation in the mid-70s up until the time that I quit practicing law formally, and have been retained since that time as a consultant for the Central Delta Water Agency. I no longer serve them as counsel.
So what kinds of consulting services do you provide?
I go to all the meetings. I express my opinions on all the subjects that are before the Central Delta Water Agency, including issues relating to the tunnels project.
And what is your expertise in providing that? Is it historic knowledge? Is it legal knowledge? Is it water quality? What expertise do you employ when you provide them advice on all of these issues?
Well, this may take a little time for me to respond, but I graduated from law school at Berkeley in 1967. I went to work for the San Joaquin County Council at that point, and once the bar results had been posted in probably September of that year, the county asked me to be the county's water expert on all the legal issues that came before San Joaquin County. As such, I appeared on behalf of the county in the proceedings before the State Water Resources Control Board, which led up to Decision 1379, I think it was, which was the first proceeding that the newly formed State Water Resource Control Board had conducted as a combined facility. As you may recall, the State Water Rights Board and the water quality functions were combined under one board in the Porter-Cologne Act in the late 60s, I believe it was. And this was the first time that the board had considered both water rights and environmental issues simultaneously in a hearing. I represented the county through 91 days of hearings in that proceeding, wrote a brief that was considered to be important.
I'm sorry,
at
Mr.
the time.
Zuckerman. I was specifically not asking for your resume, which I don't believe you submitted a CV, correct? I was asking specifically what expertise, what areas of expertise you provide currently to the Central Delta Water Agency.
Well, it's pretty hard for me to explain that without going into the background of my involvement with the Central Delta Water Agency.
I'm asking about subject areas, not about specific instances or whether or not you're qualified. Did you submit a CV in this proceeding?
No, I wasn't asked to.
Are you, who invited you to speak at the site visit?
Barbara Berrigan-Perea from Restore the Delta.
And before your remarks on October 16th at the site visit, did you review the final environmental impact report for the Delta Conveyance project?
I would say no. I've reviewed portions of it leading from the earlier drafts up to the end, but it's so lengthy that it would be difficult, I suppose, for anybody to say that they had reviewed the final statement.
Did you review certain chapters or areas?
From time to time.
Do you recall which chapters or areas?
No, I don't. Not as we sit here today.
And during the site visit, Mr. Zuckerman, you talked about an EPA Title 6 permit. Do you recall that?
Yeah, yes.
And who is the entity that filed the EPA Title 6 permit?
Files it?
Who
Or
filed it in this instance? Which entity?
Pelican Renewables, LLC.
Regarding Pelican Renewables LLC, you stated that you are the managing member of Zuco 2, which is the Pelican Renewables managing partner. Is that right?
Managing member is the proper
Managing
legal
member?
terminology.
Who are the other members of Zuco 2?
The other members are Jeff Klein, who's here today, and my three children, John, Daniel, and Brian.
And are there other partners in Pelican Renewable LLC other than Zuco 2?
Absolutely.
And who are those?
It's going to take a little thinking. I'm not sure I'm getting the entities named, but basically it's the Dutra Corporation and their principals, Bill Dutra and Harry Stewart. The three Curler brothers, Koehrler, Curler, who were the originally part of the Pacific Ethanol Corporation, from whom we purchased the Pacific Ethanol plant at the Port of Stockton. Tim Grunsky, who's the principal in the largest grain and corn purveyor in the area. Juan Penn, who is formerly the chief loan officer for Wells Fargo Bank in the environmental field. Who am I missing? My cousin Edward Zuckerman and his partner Dennis Gardemeyer, who are associated with various farming operations in the Delta. I think that covers it. I'm not sure off the top of my head I've gotten them all, but I think I've gotten them all.
Okay, thank you. What is the let's stick before I go to Pelican Renewables. You said you're also we're speaking on behalf of Range Tract Partners. Does that include all of the landowners on Range Tract?
No, Ringe Tract Partners owns about 1,000 acres on Ringe Tract on the southern portion of the island. The other landowners on Ringe Tract are I'm not representing.
Is one of those landowners the Spoletas?
No longer.
And going back to Pelican Renewables LLC, what is that entity's business operations?
Which?
Pelican Renewables,
What is its business operation?
correct.
Well, it owns the corn ethanol facility at the Port of Stockton, which it purchased from Pacific Ethanol Corporation, now known as, it has another name. It's developing a carbon sequestration demonstration project on Ringe Tract, seeking various permits to do that, and also engaging with other landowners in the Delta region and to some degree outside the Delta region in promoting and the possibility of widespread carbon sequestration in the Delta and in its environs.
Is part of the business operations a corn-based ethanol production plant?
A what?
A corn-based ethanol production plant?
Yes.
And can you describe for me what is the carbon sequestration project that you applied for, or Pelican Renewables applied for in the EPA permit 6, Title 6 permit?
Well,
Sorry.
it's properly called a Class 6 permit. The EPA has different classes of permits that cover drilling operations. Class 6 is specifically related to carbon sequestration.
And so when you say EPA, is that the federal EPA or the California EPA?
That's a federal EPA as administered here in Division 9.
And as part of this project, the Class 6 permit, was any NEPA completed for that project?
What?
NEPA, National Environmental Protection Act?
Not yet. We're not at that stage yet.
But it will have to be completed at some point?
Yes.
And in what ground water basin or basins are the injection wells to inject the carbon located?
Well, I'm not sure your terminology is quite correct, but the demonstration project that we are talking about would be conducted in the McCollum River Formation, which exists under Ringe Tract at elevations of about minus 5,000 to about minus 7,500 feet. But there are a couple of other strata underneath that are potential storage opportunities as well.
Yeah, I think my terminology was correct. I understand what you're saying, which was answering a different question. My question is where the injection wells are located on the surface at Ringe Tract.
Where would the wells be?
We can start there. Sure.
I'm sorry, I'm having trouble hearing you.
Why don't we start over with a question? Let's get the question specifically, so we're making some sense on the record here. What's the question?
I'll repeat the question. My initial question was, the location of the injection wells on Ringe Tract, what groundwater basin do they overlie?
I'm not sure that there is a designation for a specific groundwater basin under Ringe Tract. The groundwater occurs on Ringe Tract from a depth of about 5 feet down to a depth of probably 14,000 feet. And this part near the surface is influenced by seepage from the channels and the irrigation practices on the island, but the lower portion are considered to be connate waters. It's a saline water basin of geological origins, of quite historical.
Okay, I'm gonna, if Ms. Mullen, could we please pull up what's been marked as DWR 1208? And Ms. Carroll has copies for us as well.
Thank you.
Mr. Zuckerman, are you familiar with this exhibit?
No, I've never seen it before.
I will represent, do you know who SCS Engineers from Wichita, Kansas is?
I'm sorry?
Do you know who SCS Engineers from Wichita, Kansas is?
Yes, there are one of our consultants on the project.
And I will represent to you that this came from the Class 6 permit application. It's one of the exhibits.
Okay, that doesn't mean that I'd necessarily seen it before, but I have not.
Do you know what the red line that is marked as the Eastern San Joaquin Valley Subbasin is?
Yes, it's what it is, the San Joaquin Valley Subbasin.
So does that refresh your recollection as to what groundwater basin the injection wells would overlie?
It really doesn't.
Okay. Mr. Zuckerman, where is the carbon coming from that is going to be injected at Ringe Tract?
Well, it could come from a number of sources. Our principal source would be from the ethanol production facility that we have at the Port of Stockton. But it would be amenable to sourcing CO2 from a number of different sources.
What sources are you thinking of when you say a number of different sources?
Excuse me?
What other sources besides the ethanol plant are you thinking of when you say a number of other sources?
Well, unfortunately, we are producing and emitting an enormous amount of CO2 into the atmosphere from all kinds of different human activities in this area, in California, in the United States, in the whole world. And we are agnostic, you might say, as to what the potential sources of the CO2 might be. From a practical point of view, the initial source would be from the corn ethanol facility at the Port of Stockton. But we are also dealing with people that are interested in direct air capture, in transport from other geographical regions, including from as far away as Japan and Korea.
And besides Japan and Korea, what other locations, geographic
Okay.
locations? Besides Japan and Korea, what other geographical locations would be able to capture and inject carbon under Ringe Tract?
Well, our facility at the Port of Stockton is connected to the two major transcontinental railroad systems in the United States, and is on the Deepwater Channel that services the marine transport industry across the entire world. So theoretically, the carbon could come from anywhere.
When you say the carbon could come from anywhere, then would it come in containers on ships?
It could come on ships, it could come on rail,
And right now, those particular potential partners are not part of the Class 6 permit. That is for Pelican Renewables and the ethanol that's produced, the corn ethanol, correct?
The Class 6 permit is agnostic, you might say, as to what the source of the ethanol would be. As I say, our initial plan is to, we would be capturing CO2 from the fermentation process at the corn facility and using that as the initial source, but it could be one of several sources
Okay.
ultimately.
Well, let's focus on that source first, and maybe just to make this a bit easier, if
Can I ask, what relevance is this to the subject matter here?
I'll allow it. It's fair. What relevance? Where are we going with this?
well,
Relevant to the hearing issues.
related to the hearing, I personally think that all of this testimony that was provided is irrelevant, and we plan to file a motion to strike it. However, to the extent that it's coming in as evidence, this is not in writing anywhere. We have no information about this project, so we can't even analyze what potential impacts it has.
So you're exploring, I can understand, you have a two-part here, which is, well, one, you maintain that the original testimony was irrelevant, and then two, you're exploring the content of the testimony in response to what was provided.
Correct.
And the exploration is with respect to, I mean, is it a public interest factor? Is that or an injury impacts?
Well, Mr. Zuckerman alleged that the tunnel project potentially had impacts on this specific project, but did not file a protest. And so there's no maps, there's no location, there's no information about the sources. All of the information I've been asking about, we had to do independent research, and it was not provided in writing. So I'm exploring where it's coming from, how it gets there, to understand what the potential impacts from the Delta Conveyance project could potentially be.
Understood. Thank you, and thank you for that
Just note,
clarification.
Mr. Zuckerman the site visit witnesses were not required to file anything in writing. So to the extent that that's some sort of disparagement, I mean, that wasn't required. People were allowed to come to site visits and make statements. Statements were made. They indicated they wanted to cross-examine. We indicated we didn't want it relegated to a policy statement. So here we are. With regard to potential sources all around the world, what might come to be injected as far as carbon, I think we're getting pretty far afield in terms of how that's relevant, though.
I'm going
Also,
to,
with respect to Mr. Zuckerman's supposed statements that the tunnel project could impact carbon sequestration, I think what he said was it'd be pretty hard to operate a carbon sequestration project if the island's 25 feet underwater. I think that was the extent of his comments with regard to how the project could specifically impact the carbon project.
Hearing Officer Kinsey, we are going to move to strike this, and I would be happy to strike it now and not continue on this cross-examination. First of all, that this type of testimony is really a protest, and Mr. Zuckerman nor any entity other than South Delta Water Agency submitted a protest, and none of the testimony submitted by Central Delta Water Agency was related to this project or specific to Wrench Tract. It's the hearing notice for the site visit explicitly said it was to point out physical features of the project and areas of the project, not to make claims against potential injuries created from the project. And so we're left with no choice but to cross-examine to understand this, even though we believe it's outside the scope of both the notice and of the procedures for this hearing.
noted. Thank you, Ms. Morrison. Thank you, Mr. Reese. And also, Mr. Reese, I failed to say good morning to you. And also, good morning, and thank you for being here. I mean, I'm not going to rule on a motion to strike right now, and you have not asked me to. So I'm going to allow the cross-examination to continue within reason. You're fairly efficient. So I will allow it to continue to explore these issues, expecting that it sounds like there may be a motion that will be coming in. But for now, please proceed.
If I might, I could make a short statement to show you what the relevance of the carbon sequestration project is to the tunnel.
I would object to that because
Yeah.
there's no filing by this, and I am stuck cross-examining with no written information, and I don't think it's appropriate to allow further clarification outside the scope of the questions.
I'm going to keep us on cross-exam. And this is your opportunity, Ms. Morris, to explore the testimony that was given and the relevance of this, and then we will go from there. But thank you, Mr. Zuckerman. Please.
Okay, so back to Ms. Mullen behind the curtain. Could you please pull up DWR 1207? We could zoom out just a little bit. I think we need to move the figure over to the right a bit. There, perfect. Mr. Zuckerman, on this map, just for reference, hopefully it's easier, can you show me where the corn ethanol and CO2 source is located?
CO2 source is located at the Port of Stockton, which is shown on the exhibit, which is where the ethanol facility is located.
And on this map that's marked DWR 1207, could you describe where Wrench Tract is located?
Well, Ringe Track is located with a red border, bounding the boundaries on the San Joaquin Deepwater Channel to the north and west, about 8 miles from the Port of Stockton by water.
And how will the carbon be transported from the CO2 source to Wrench Tract?
By marine transport, specifically by barge.
And do you know how large those barges will be?
By what?
How large will those barges be?
I still didn't get it. How what?
Large?
Oh.
What size?
Well, they haven't been finally designed yet, but they're in the range of 400 feet in length and 120 feet wide, generally speaking.
And how will the barges hold the carbon?
In tanks.
And how many will the tanks sit on top of each other? What would actually, let me just pull up what's been marked, Ms. Mullen, as DWR 1206. Maybe this will help us answer these questions. And Mr. Zuckerman, are you familiar with this exhibit?
Generally, yes.
And it was prepared by your consultant, SCS Engineers?
Yes.
And does it, looking at the date, January 2023, does it look like it's part of the permit, Class 6 permit submitted to EPA?
I don't know. I assume it is.
What does this figure depict?
Well, this depicts a technique for reducing the carbon dioxide to a super, what's it called? Anyway, under great pressure, it becomes a form of, in the form of like a jello at ambient temperatures. And the pressures are in the range of 1,500 to 2,000 pounds per square inch. And the individual tanks are, in essence, a kind of a segment of a strong pipeline that's capped at both ends and is capable of withstanding those kinds of pressures.
And are these?
Supercritical is the term I was searching for.
That's the term I understand too from reading the application.
Excuse me?
That's the term I understand from reading the permit application, supercritical.
Oh, I hadn't heard you say that before.
I didn't. I was seeing if you knew it because I can't testify. Do you know how often the barges will run from the Port of Stockton to Ringe Tract?
Do I know what?
How often, how frequent the barges will go from the CO2 source to Ringe Tract?
Well, initially, not too often. The the amount of CO2 that is produced, will be produced by our ethanol facility is in the range of 150,000 metric tons per year. And if you divide that down into per day, I think the barges will be transporting once or twice a week.
And looking at this figure on the bottom, and I think it might be clearer to look at the written, how does this depict how the carbon would be moved from the barges and the the containers on the barges into the injection wells?
There would be a dock or docks constructed at Ringe Tract. Initially, the assumption is right at about where that arrow points into the island.
And sorry, you're referring to the map DWR 1207, the arrow there?
Yeah, the
Okay.
injection location in that general vicinity, just to the left of where that arrow is, and then from that location, it would be piped to the wellheads.
And does the figure on the bottom show that there's some kind of pipe or something that would run over the levee? Do you see where it says levee and it goes from the barge over the levee and down?
I was looking at the wrong, you talking about this one?
Yeah, what's been marked as 1206 and shown on the screen?
Yes.
Sorry, yes, that there's some kind of, what is it that goes over the top of the levee and down to carry the carbon to the injection wells?
The pipeline.
And is it a permanent pipeline that runs over and hangs over the levee, or how does that work?
Well, it hasn't really been designed in final form yet, so it's hard for me to answer that question. We have we had a grant from the EPA, from the Department of Energy, to do the feed study, the initial engineering design, and it was along with a bunch of other projects, projects that were funded by the Department of Energy. It was canceled by the Trump administration. So we don't, at this point, have final design for the final engineering design for the pipeline, the docks, the barges, and so forth.
And the barge that you said that would be built, would that be a permanent barge in the water? Sorry, not the barge, the dock. My apologies.
Well, to the extent docks are permanent, yeah, yes.
And do you have any idea what size that would be?
It would be large enough to accommodate a couple of the barges that we're talking about, perhaps as long as 600 or 800 feet. This is all pretty speculative without having the final design having been accomplished.
And regarding the figure that's shown, 12 DWR 1206, that the containers on top of the barge that hold the carbon, they would remain on the barge during the process of injection. Is that correct?
Presumably, they are somewhat portable, but I think they would remain on the barge.
And do you know how long it would take if the containers were full to inject all of the carbon?
I don't know that, but not very long.
And do you know the GIS coordinates of the injection wells?
Do I what?
Do you know the GIS coordinates of the carbon injection wells?
I personally do not. They are the consultants that we're using have at least approximate locations of those two wells, it turns out.
And those two wells, are they the same depth or are they different depths?
They the same what?
Depth?
They would, as I say, the final design on all this stuff hasn't been accomplished yet, but yes, they would be going into the same strata.
And I apologize, but could you remind me again the depth of that? I think you called it the McCollum.
It would be somewhere in the range of between 5,000 and 7,500 feet below the surface.
And do you know what depth the Delta Conveyance project would be at on Ringe Tract or underneath Ringe Tract?
The which part?
The Delta Conveyance project, the depth of the tunnel under Ringe Tract?
About 150 feet, I think. Less than 200 feet, I believe.
How do you know that the carbon that is injected will remain under Ringe Tract?
Well, we have studies that are being conducted by various engineering and scientific organizations in order to convince the EPA that it will. And they rely to some degree on gas wells, natural gas wells that have been previously constructed through the same or similar areas, and also a project that was done just to the north of the of Ringe Tract on King Island with a specific purpose of trying to prove the feasibility of storing carbon dioxide underneath the delta.
And what project was that on King Island?
You know, I don't remember the name of it, but it's well documented.
And how long will the carbon remain under Ringe Tract?
Forever.
Mr. Zuckerman, when will the carbon sequestration project construction begin?
As soon as we get the permits.
When do you anticipate getting the permits?
Sometime within the next 4 or 5 months, we should be getting our Class 6 permit. And there are a number of follow-up permits that we would anticipate getting within the next year and a half. And we'll be doing a lot of the preliminary design and pre-construction activities in that time frame. The construction activities actually will not take that long to accomplish.
Can you please list the other kinds of permits that you were just mentioning?
Well, there's a number of them. I'm not sure I can give you a total. The Air Resources Board, the California Air Resources Board, needs to issue permits for the sequestration project. And then there are various other local and state and federal agencies that we will need to deal with. On the federal level, the Corps of Engineers and for the dock permits, and perhaps the federal and state fish and wildlife organizations for any disturbance that we're going to be doing, and a limited amount of dredging in order to accommodate the docks on Ringe Tract. The State Lands Commission will need to be involved with the construction of the docks. The local county, of course, will have to issue use permits. CalGEM will have to issue a drilling permit for the wells. Let me think. There may be a permit required from this organization, the State Water Resource Control Board, or one of its regional entities for some of the work that's being accomplished. It's quite a list of different agencies that need to be consulted with.
And you believe you'll get all of those permits that you just listed and consulted with, you'll get through that process in a year and a half?
I think we can do it within a year and a half. we've been working with all of the agencies that I just mentioned all along. They've all been involved with tours of the project and communications with us, and some effort to coordinate those projects. It's been we've been working with the Resources Agency, with the Delta Conservation Group, and all of the local entities all along. So nobody is going to be surprised by any of this. And incidentally, we've engendered quite a high degree of support for this project, not just from the agencies, but from the local environmental and tribal organizations.
In your discussions with state agencies, you listed quite a few, so I won't ask all of them, but are you aware or have you been told that you have to complete a CEQA process?
I'm sorry, I
A
can't hear you.
CEQA documentation or process?
Yes, we're well aware we will need to complete the CEQA process for, hopefully on a more coordinated basis for various of these permits.
And about, I don't remember how many minutes ago, Mr. Ruiz said that you stated on the site tour that it would be hard to conduct or have a carbon sequestration project if an island was 25 feet underwater. Do you recall saying that at the site
Yes.
tour? And what from the Delta Conveyance project, what aspect would cause Wrench Track to be under 25 feet of water?
Well, there are a couple aspects of it. One, nobody's attempted to drill a tunnel underneath delta levees in the central delta before. We've had enough problems just with the gas pipelines and stuff that have been constructed to be concerned with the integrity of the levee processes, the levees themselves, from that type of a process. And I don't believe there's any precedent for anything of this construction of this size. If the levees were to fail as a result of that, the island would be inundated. But on another scale, the levees are maintained by the agricultural operations in the delta. The tunnel project poses a grave threat to the agricultural productivity of the delta through deterioration of water quality necessary for farming. If the islands are not going to be farmed, there would be no economic structure there to maintain the levees. And in the absence of constant maintenance and improvement, we would anticipate that the islands would be inundated ultimately, either by seepage or by levee failure.
Okay, so to be clear, two reasons. One is there is concern about levee stability from the tunneling project. And the second is that because of water quality issues, there would no longer be ag and therefore no mechanism to fund levee improvements or maintenance. Is that correct?
I stand on what I said, yes.
Okay. And in regards to carbon sequestration, there will be a pipeline built across and into the levee in order for the carbon to be transmitted onto Wrench Track, correct?
No, that's not correct.
Okay, I believe you described that, so let's go back to DWR 1206.
That goes over the top of the levee, the way it's described there. It doesn't go through the levee.
Okay, and where do gas pipelines, and are there any gas pipelines on Wrench Tract?
There is an abandoned gas pipeline that was constructed within the last 20 years, I think. There was an effort by a Kern County ABA Petroleum, I think was the name of it, to drill some wells on Ringe. They had some initial discoveries of natural gas, but the saline waters overwhelmed their ability to produce natural gas, and the pipeline that they had constructed to gather that natural gas and transport it to Roberts Island was abandoned.
And regarding the gas lines, what depth are the gas lines that you are referring to in terms of levee stability in the Delta?
What I was referring to specifically was the PG&E gas lines that they have used to transport gas from their storage facility on McDonald Island to Brentwood. And I don't recall specifically the depth of those pipelines. They were deep enough to go underneath the channels that they were crossing. And in some instances, if they, so I would assume that they were at least 40 feet deep, probably a little more than that.
And Mr. Zuckerman, is there precedent for in the Delta for the size of a carbon sequestration project that you are intending to build on Range Tract?
No.
And do you know how many operational carbon sequestration projects are in California?
None.
And Mr. Zuckerman,
There's a permit. A permit has been issued for one in Kern County by the EPA. I'm not sure it's gone beyond that to any of the other permitting agencies.
and Mr. Zuckerman, are you an engineer?
I am not an engineer.
And are you a geologist?
You know, the funny part of it is, I'm a lawyer, right? I guess you're a lawyer. You must be a lawyer.
I suppose I am.
And over the almost 60 years that I've been involved in these issues in the Delta, I sometimes refer to myself as a osmotic scientist because I've spent so much time with engineers and scientists and stuff on these issues. I almost feel like I've absorbed the equivalent of an education that might qualify me. But no, I am not. I don't hold any technical degrees beyond that of a lawyer.
And are you aware if saline affects carbon sequestration, salinity?
Of saline effects on carbon sequestration?
I'm gonna object as vague. Can you restate the question so we have a clear understanding of it?
Are you aware if salinity or saline water in the area where carbon is going to be injected has any impact on sequestration of the carbon?
It has an impact over time of converting the CO2 back into limestone, if that's what you're referring to. It's a gradual process that could take several hundred years.
Mr. Zuckerman, do you have any professional experience in oil and gas exploration?
Yes, to some degree. I represented our family which owned most of McDonald Island in dealing with PG&E and various drillers out there searching for and storing natural gas underneath McDonald Island.
And you own or an entity that you are part of owns McDonald Island?
I am the agent for all of the mineral rights owners on McDonald Island. My cousin and a couple of different entities that he owns is the owner of most of the surface of McDonald Island, other than a portion of it that's owned by the PG&E for their gas storage project.
And did you or any entity that you are part of sell that portion of McDonald Island to PG&E for implementation of that project?
For what?
For implementation of PG&E's gas exploration project.
Back in the 1930s, members of my family made some sort of a deal with Standard Oil to explore for natural gas on McDonald Island. Standard Oil ultimately sold their interest to PG&E. I don't believe my family was involved in that transaction. The transaction they were involved with was with Standard Oil Company sometime back in the 1930s,
Okay.
which is even before I was born, slightly.
Thank you for answering my questions. I appreciate your time, and it was nice to see you in person again. No further questions.
Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Morris. Thank you, Mr. Zuckerman. With that, I will look to the room just to make sure. Is there anyone else with questions for Mr. Zuckerman? Looking at both the virtual and actual room. Then with that, I want to thank you, Mr. Zuckerman, for coming in and joining us today. Thank you so much for your testimony. I actually very much enjoyed. I learned new things today, so thank you for that.
You're welcome. I was a little bit surprised. I thought we were going to talk more about water quality and one thing or another rather than the gas deal, but I'm glad that everybody is interested in our project.
It's fascinating to me. So thank you so much for your testimony, and thank you for being here, and you are excused. I think I would like to go ahead and move to Mr. Klein. I know we may need a moment to rearrange chairs here.
All right, I'm up.
All right, then with that, welcome, Mr. Klein. Thank you for being here. Do you recall taking the oath when we last saw you out on the site visit?
I do.
Thank you very much. Then with that, I will look to Ms. Morris. Do you have, or Ms. Carroll, do you have questions for Mr. Klein?
I do, and you'll be happy to know that it's much shorter, and I promise
That's
not to
okay.
ask
Fire away.
anything about carbon sequestration.
Fire away.
Mr. Klein, did you submit written testimony regarding potential impacts to you or any of your interests for this hearing? Written.
This hearing? No, I wasn't aware that I needed to submit written hearings.
And you're not a protestant to this hearing, correct?
I don't have a problem being here.
And are you being represented by counsel today? Okay. And who invited you to speak on the site visit? And were you given any direction related to your comments for the site visit about what you could say or not say? Okay.
Nobody speaks for me.
Okay. Before your remarks on October 16th at the site visit, did you review the final environmental impact report for the Delta Conveyance project?
Final, I have not. I have seen a lot of the website. I have looked through, a lot of the preliminary stuff, but, understanding that it's very early in this process, no, I have not read the final.
Do you recall what information from the draft environmental impact report or which chapters that you read?
Yeah, I really focused on where this was going to go, how deep it was going to go, the width it was going to go, how it was going to cross through these levees, and its potential impacts on my farming operations in the Delta.
And when you say that the tunnel is going to pass through the levees, how deep are the levees on Ringe Tract?
How deep?
Mhm.
Integrity, the integrity of the levee goes down, to far below the water. All this ground is being held up by something. So I would say that its whole structure, the whole geologic formation is what supports Ringe Tract Island.
Okay, and do you know how?
I'm sorry, Ms. Morris. Hearing, I wondered. Thank you. These microphones are, you have to be very intimate with them,
Perfect.
so.
Better?
It's kind of a lot.
All right.
Thank you. Please, Ms. Morris.
Okay, do you know how high the levee is and how deep the levee structure itself? I'm not what's supporting it, but
So Ringe Tract, it fluctuates. It's anywhere between 14 and 22 feet below sea level. And there's, we're well above the 100-year floodplain as required, for reclamation district and subvention reimbursement purposes.
okay. And going back to what you reviewed, you described what I would characterize, and you can fix if I say wrong, sort of the engineering, design, location, depth. Did you review anything else? Okay. Do you test the water quality that you divert for irrigation purposes?
During the season, I do not because I don't have a choice. When we are diverting when it's not critical for for the crop. We do test TDS to see how much salt is in that water when we're putting it on.
So you don't test when it's critical for the crop to have water, but you do test at other times? Is that
At other
accurate?
times, if irrigation timing isn't critical, I'll wait till the water quality is improved.
Okay.
But at certain points, this crop needs water regardless of the quality, that you just have to, use what you got.
And by TDS, you mean total dissolved solids?
That's correct.
Okay. And how do you test water quality at your intakes?
Just a meter, little meter you can buy off Amazon.
The little hand
Little-
meters?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you just put that in the water?
Mhm.
Okay. And how often do you test the water quality?
When I have a choice as to if I irrigate at that moment.
Okay. So it's just depending on irrigation. It's
Yeah.
there's no like structure to it.
Oh, it's normally, after August, June, July, August, when these crops, really require water, you don't have much choice. But it's when you have the choice to delay a week, that's when when you get out your tester.
And I apologize, I should know this, but I think you pointed out generally where your intakes were when we were on the site visit. But can you say what the source of, where is it, which river or slough are you pulling out of?
Oh boy, I think there's 4 sloughs around Ringe Track. If I can get out my phone, I can name them off for you. But I know I think there's about 4 different sloughs that run around Ringe Track.
And so the diversion points are all around Ringe Track and those sloughs?
Off the top of my head, I want to say there's 50 to 60 diversion points on Ringe Track.
50 to 60, okay. But you don't divert from all of those. There's other landowners
Some
as
other
well.
landowners, yes.
Okay. And in terms of salinity, what metric do you consider to be good water quality?
Well, I've always want to see it below 0.7.
Okay. Thank you so much for your time. I appreciate you coming here, and I don't have any further questions.
Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Morris. I will look to the actual and virtual room. Does anyone else have questions for Mr. Klein? And with that, Mr. Klein, thank you so much for joining us today. Thank you for being here. Thank you for your testimony, and you are excused.
All right. Thank you.
I think at this point, we have completed, as I understand, the in-portion portion of our hearing today. So my intent, it's 10:08. I promised at least an hour break, but I think we can get some additional work done before the lunch break. So before we depart, I wanted to look to our DTEC representatives, which may be Ms. Safdie, and just confirm that we could have the first panel of witnesses, Ms. Berrigan-Perea, Ms. Cortez, and Mr. Fern, who I understand will be appearing as a panel, whether they would be available if we were to reconvene at, say, 11:15. And I believe, oh, there's Ms. Proofer. Wonderful. I didn't see you because you're now a panelist. Ms. Proofer, if you can speak to that, please.
Yes, DTEC, the Restore the Delta panelists should be able to appear at that time.
All right. Then with that, I will call a break until 11:15, and we will reconvene by Zoom only. And thank you to all of you in the room.
Sorry.